threatened in actual Holy Quran burnings, firebombs at mosques, vandalism, hate mail, disturbing telephone messages, angry mob protests, anti-Muslim slurs, unfair arrest and detention. What is going on in America? Land of the free and home of the brave? The rise of Islamophobia. That's our show this week on American Dream. I'm your host, Nisa Islam. Islamophobia is a relatively new term. Just what does it mean? We asked Jack DiLiberto, a Middle East expert.
Islamophobia is the pervasive ideals that set forth through some parts of the world that people will know largely nothing about Islam, but will be afraid of it. Be afraid of the religion, afraid of the culture, afraid of the books, afraid of everything regarding it.
That's one definition. Then we asked people on the streets. Each of them had something different to say about the meaning of Islamophobia.
I'd say it's the phobia or the fear of the stereotype of the Islamic faith.
I think people who are afraid of Muslims, afraid that it means, that they equate Islam with terrorism and things like that.
Gosh, it sounds like it means an irrational fear of people of a particular religious belief.
Abina Muhammad and Kashif Abdulaziz are from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Abina was born Muslim, and Kashif converted to Islam. I wanted to hear their opinion of what Islamophobia means.
Islamophobia, I guess, is literally, would be the fear of Islam, which, in my opinion, is kind of crazy. It's fear of the unknown versus fear of Islam as a religion as a whole. Probably just fear of the unknown that has been attached to Islam. Post 9/11, America didn't have a real view of Islam. You didn't really see it as much. After 9/11, every news channel had their own interpretation of Islam. Everybody you saw on TV and the media was always a radical terrorist, and in so many words, a radical terrorist who was either protesting against something, yelling, or bombing something. So Islamophobia, I think it was something that was, I don't want to say it was designed, but it has been developed as fear of the unknown, because this is all that they say.
Okay, I agree with him, but also I think it's the fear of the quote-unquote known, because everybody believes they know about Islam when in fact they really don't. You have these crazy ideas floating around the media saying Islam is this, Islam is that, when in actuality most of the stuff that's put out there for America to find out or whoever to see has no basis in Islam. So I think it's basically the fear of the known. You think, you're so smart, you're dumb. You don't know really what you're talking about. So you're fearing something, and you have no idea what you're in fear of.
But when we asked Shadid Muhammad, Islamic scholar and imam at the United Muslim Masjid in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we got a different answer.
I've heard the term on a number of occasions, and honestly speaking, I can't affirm that term, because honestly, these type of terms are terms that the media and mainstream America, individuals who have their own personal agenda with the religion of Islam, they throw these type of terms out there that were foreign to us prior to particular incidents, and in hopes that mainstream America would grab on to these or gravitate towards these type of terms and accept them as legitimate terms, when in fact they're not. It's just like any, like for example, Wahhabism. Okay, I don't know any Muslim who calls himself a Wahhabi, but that term has been accepted, and even as Muslims, many Muslims have accepted that term as being legitimate, when in fact I have never heard the term before in my life. I have never heard a Muslim call himself. But Islamophobia, quote unquote, as they call it, from what I know of the term, is that it is a type of fear or hostility that people have towards Muslims as well as the religion of Islam.
Phobias are an irrational, intense, and persistent fear of certain situations, activities, and things, animals, or people. The main symptom of this disorder is the expressive and unreasonable desire to avoid the feared stimulus. Phobias are not based in facts or truth. Just what are Americans afraid of?
I'm not going to affirm or give legitimacy to that term. I don't think Americans in general are in fear of Islam or in fear of Muslims or in fear of anything connected to the religion of Islam. I think American people, as I'm an American born and raised here, my parents were born and raised here, my grandparents were born and raised here. So as a citizen of this country, I can say for myself as well as many other Americans that we have been raised to accept differences. And culturally, religiously, however you want to look at it, we have been raised to accept differences. All right. Sometimes in our acceptance of those differences, there's a sense of a sentiment of uncomfortability because of the thing being foreign to you. But I don't think that there's any fear. I think the fear that many Americans are experiencing today about the religion of Islam or towards Muslims has been incited by the media, been incited by false propaganda or false propagation of Islam, whether on behalf of Muslims as well as non-Muslims. It's not restricted to one group of people, because you have Muslims who do things that are not consistent with the religion of Islam that creates a sentiment of fear. And fear is an emotion that produces other emotions like hostility, like hatred.
The fears of Americans about Islam are real and imagined. Here's what Mr. Diliberto had to say.
Well, I don't know that Americans are afraid of Islam, but I think that there is some elements within the United States that is afraid. And I think what it is, it's largely just because they don't know. A lot of Americans don't know much about Islam. They haven't been forced to. And in regards, just the same ways that many Americans didn't know much about the Native Americans when we first got here. They didn't know much about the African culture when the slaves were brought. And so in many ways, it's just the first thing, I think, to deal with Islam is get Americans to know about it.